Hello, it's Brian again. I'm back here for another video, and I wanted to revisit something that I talked about a long time ago, and that is the swag. Now, for those of you that haven't seen the original video, a swag is a traditional Australian method of carrying your equipment when you're on walkabout, when you're out hiking, walking the trails, walking the roads, whatever it is that you're doing. It consists of a bedroll, normally a blanket, maybe some sort of treated canvas like a drop cloth or some kind of shelter material that you would use, that you would roll up the things that you need at night. And then there's also what they call the dilly bag, which was like a cotton flour sack type material that was hung on the other shoulder, and that's what held the things that you needed during the day. Now, the original version that I had in my original video, I made very quickly. I took an old pants leg, I stitched it in about 2 seconds, and I just kind of tied everything together. Didn't really put a lot of thought into the assembly. I just wanted to be able to show the concept because some people were asking some questions about it. And I've been really thinking about the setup a lot lately. It's been a while since I've been out solo primitive camping, and I've just been kind of rethinking some of the things that I used to do and the way I carried things, wanting to go lighter, wanting to go more comfortable without sacrificing equipment and necessities. Because there are certain things that I try to not go without if I can at all help it. And I've been going through and kind of sketching out and making lists of equipment and things like that and how I would carry it, and I keep coming back to the swag. And then I had somebody ask a question about it here on YouTube. And then I had another person that was watching my old video on the swag make a comment on it. And I hadn't had a comment on that video in about 6 years. And she commented on it, and it kind of was like, well, it's kind of bringing it back to the top of my mind. So I wanted to kind of revisit this. And this is going to be a series of videos. So this is part one of the swag. Today I'm going to be talking about the particular setup that I have right now that is still evolving. There's some things that I want to do, but I'll explain why I haven't done them yet. And I'm going to talk about how it interacts with the other gear that I am currently wearing. And then later I want to talk about an actual loadout and spread everything out and show you what all I actually carry in the swag itself and how I could get set up for a 2 or 3 night camp out just with this and be quite comfortable. If questions come up or I think of other things, the series might continue, but I'm looking probably at 2 to 3 videos tops for this. So, no further ado, let us get started. I'm gonna unsling this so you guys can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. So currently, the blanket roll portion of my swag is just an old Army issue blanket and an old Army issue shelter half, just the one half. There have been a lot of times where I've used just a single shelter half as kind of a lean-to. It's very similar to a Whelen lean-to in that it's got the triangular sides out that come out. So when you set it up as a lean-to, you do have some side protection as well. It doesn't have that top flap that the Whelen has, but still, it's what I have. I've had them for a long time. It was cheap. It's traditional materials. If I was trying to do something that's more medieval, or for those of you that don't know, I'm also into Tolkien. I'm going to probably do a series on that at some point. And so I'm a member of a group called the Middle-earth Ranger Forum. So if I was going to be doing something like a Ranger reenactor, eventually I would like to get something a little bit less modern than this. But for now, it'll do. So I've got the blanket and I've got the shelter half rolled up. I've got that tied up with, this is, I believe, 3/8 manila rope. And I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. Whenever I do the actual kit breakdown, I'll show you the different parts. But this is a 7-foot piece of manila rope on each end that I've just put an eye splice in that I would use as the guy ropes for my tent or utility lines or whatever else I need to do. This stuff is rated up to 125 pounds, so I'm not going to be climbing with it or anything like that. But it's strong enough for just about every task that I could possibly want. And again, it is eye spliced, so I've got the ability to cinch down on things. For the shoulder strap itself, this is actually the original strap that I used in my first video. It's just a piece of cotton webbing. I've sewn a loop into one end of it just to make it more permanent, and I attempted to dye this just to make it darker, and it got a little bit darker. I was just using coffee. I was just kind of messing around. But I'm using this right now, and as you'll notice, the other end is tied. It is not sewn. I'm eventually going to replace this with a leather strap. That was the traditional shoulder strap material, but I'm experimenting right now to figure out exactly how long I want the strap before I go cut a strap out of leather, because I try to be economical with my materials. I try to troubleshoot everything before I actually go in and start using something expensive. And this stuff is really inexpensive, and I've got several pieces of it laying around. Honestly, this is from back when I used to move furniture for a living, and we would use these straps to like tie sleeper sofas in place so that they didn't open while you were carrying them. So let's hear it for hanging on to stuff for years, because that's been a minute. The dilly bag itself is just made out of linen. Just kind of hand stitched a circular piece into the bottom to give it some shape, rather than just sewing a flat bottom across it, because I normally keep my cooking pot in the bottom. You can actually see the shape from my little cooking pot there. Depending on how much I'm carrying, right now I've got the pot vertical because that makes it lay more comfortably against my body. If I was really packing this out, I could lay the pot down flat and it would really hold that bottom shape really well. I do have a piece of linen tape that's the drawstring for the top, and so the dilly bag itself is just attached with the drawstring. I don't know how well y'all can see that, but again, when I do the breakdown video, I'll show you all this. Now, the one thing that I didn't do on this bag that the original had that I used, and also that is traditional, is normally on the back side of it, there's a slit, and that's designed for you to be able to reach into that bag and get stuff out of it while you're on the move. I haven't done that to this bag yet. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it to this bag yet, because unlike a traditional like Australian bush traveler, these are not the only things that I'm carrying with me. I typically have my belt on, which has multiple pouches, and sometimes I'll even have, a haversack or a possibles bag or something like that. So I have a lot of other places that I can carry things that I want to get to quickly, and not having that slit allows me to fill this bag more fully. Now, you don't want to fill this bag to the top, because this bag also acts as a shoulder strap. Sorry, there's a hawk just landed in the tree over there. A little distracted. I'm easily distracted by wildlife. So if you shove stuff all the way up to the top here, you'd have this big bulky thing just kind of hanging off. So you don't want to really fill it up more than to about right there, especially not with anything remotely rigid. All right, so that's the current setup. Putting it on, really simple. Just put that over one shoulder. If you use your momentum correctly, then that just swings up like that. You can adjust it as you're moving. You can carry it almost vertically, like that. If you raise the bag up, you can lower that down. You can kind of move that around. So as you're moving throughout the day, you can adjust that, tweak exactly where it's lying to make it more comfortable and to eliminate hot spots and things like that. So how does it interact with the rest of my kit? You just saw me put it on. It's not really rubbing against anything else that I have. So as long as this is all I'm doing, sometimes that gets twisted and makes a little weird spot right there on my shoulder, so sometimes I have to adjust it a little bit. As long as this is all I'm wearing, this is really comfortable. Honestly, this is one of the advantages of this over a backpack, is that you have weight in the front and the back. So not only are you more balanced than you would be if you just had a blanket roll with a traditional single strap that goes across your body, because it is giving you both shoulders. You also have part of your weight in the front, so it allows you to stand more upright than you would if all of that weight was on your back. No matter how your pack is loaded, once I get to like the 20-30 pound range, I start to instinctively lean forward slightly. Even if I could stand upright, your body compensates automatically for these things. With this, I really don't do that. I just stand. It's very comfortable. I've worn this for long periods of time and really haven't had any issues with it. Partly because you can kind of shift it around. I can take this and I can spread it out over more on my shoulder if I want to spread the pressure out, things like that. And this strap here is incredibly comfortable. Now, if I want to add a quiver, I tend to use a back quiver. The back quiver doesn't play terribly well with this, but it can work. And there's a couple of different ways that I've tried it. One is to, I can kind of cant this like that. And I can put the quiver on over it. And this isn't too bad. It's not the most comfortable way to do it. And if I was going to actually be hunting or something like that, or I needed to carry arrows, one, I probably wouldn't have this quiver with 12 arrows in it. Honestly, I'd probably only have about 5, and I'd get something much smaller. And at that point, I would probably tie it to the blanket roll itself. So as y'all can see, that actually sits fairly well. I can still access my arrows. It's not ideal because I can't really, without actually putting my hand here and pushing it, if I do that, then that's much easier. Putting them back, yeah, good luck. I can't see that at all, so there's no way I'm going to be able to put that back in there without taking it off. Now, normally putting them back is not the issue. Normally it's access that you want. You want to be able to get those out quickly. So let's take the swag off. Switch these out right quick. So we're going to put the quiver on first, because the other thing for me to think about is if I'm hunting and I put an arrow into an animal and the animal starts taking off, I'm probably going to want to drop this if I'm tracking. I'm still going to want the arrows, right? So I'm not going to want to take my quiver off and then take this off and then put my quiver back on. So the quiver would probably be the thing I would have on first. Now I'm not going to swing the dilly bag over my shoulder like I normally do because I've got all these arrows. So yeah, this is a little bit more awkward to put on. And I'm also going to sling this up a little bit higher and this down a little bit lower. So it's not quite as comfortable. But once I get that all in place, I can shift the quiver around a little bit. And yeah, it takes a little bit more maneuvering. I'm just kind of moving the stuff around in the bag itself to make it sit more comfortably. But once it's in place, that's not bad. You see how that sits? I can actually see the arrows now, enough to where I can put the back in the quiver. I can push this if I'm needing more to move my quiver. Like if my quiver gets moved around, I can push this over. And there that is, right? I might have some trouble with this last set of arrows over here. Probably need to do some testing with that, actually having the swag on with the arrows and practice actually drawing and loosing these arrows while wearing all of this, because this might interfere a little bit. You think about your draw stroke, it might not. String probably would clear that. I might have to modify my technique a little bit. However, my technique's not very static anyway, because I typically don't shoot at a target range. I do stump shooting or roving 3D archery or things like that. So I'm very seldom am I standing perfectly on level ground, plunking arrows downrange. So be that as it is. So with this setup here, I've got a pouch down here that's completely dedicated to my fire kit. I've got a pouch here that's just my day use items, things that I might want to get to quickly. I've got another pouch back here. I've got a pretty good size haversack. You can fit quite a bit of stuff in that. I've got this dilly bag, again, a lot of space there. I've got the blanket roll itself, which would carry like my extra clothes and socks and things like that. And then my quiver, I actually have, I don't know if you can see this, I actually have these ties on it, which I designed to be able to lash additional things on there. A lot of times if I'm just going lighter during the summer or something, instead of a blanket roll, I'll take a lighter blanket, roll it up, and just lash it to the underside of my quiver and just wear the quiver. And that does pretty well. With the quiver, whatever is attached to it, if I really don't even need a blanket, I can attach a tarp or something to that, and that'll carry my shelter, and then I can have my haversack and my belt pouches to carry everything else that I need. I don't know, it's just me. One of the things, just kind of as a disclaimer, I'm not a historical reenactor. I am not trying to emulate any specific period in time. I just take a lot of different traditional methods and ideas and I just kind of mash them all together. Some of that I do actually use in costumes for Renaissance festivals and stuff like that, but even with that, I'm not portraying a specific time period. Honestly, most of the time, I'm portraying a Ranger of the North because I'm a nerd. Yep, it's out there. But that's the setup. I look forward to taking the time to go through and actually break this down. Before I do the breakdown video, I might have this actually switched out for the leather shoulder strap. Definitely by one of the videos in this series, I want to have that leather shoulder strap finished. But I did want to go ahead and take the time to get this part up because I was excited about it and I've been having a lot of fun. I've been walking around the house like a weirdo, wearing all this stuff. My wife is very understanding, and not a whole lot surprises her anymore. So that's good. Anywho, so there you have it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys again soon.